Welcome back, everyone. For anyone out there who is a Korean language learner, something that is often a sticking point or people find particularly difficult is learning all the different levels, the registers, we might call them, of speech. It's quite complex, not only to memorize all the endings, but to know exactly in what situation to use which register. So I think a lot of learners complain perhaps a little bit about this aspect of learning Korean. However, native speakers also perhaps may face issues of choosing the appropriate level for the appropriate situation, especially given a lot of social changes that have been going on within Korea as a culture. So in the article, it focuses on a specific set of incidences where service people have been complaining online about customers who inappropriately address them using banmal. They would prefer it if the customers would speak to them more politely, but they wanted to find, a subtle or perhaps indirect strategy for encouraging more politeness from their customers. So I guess I'm really interested to know how would you speak to a service worker if you had to deal with one in Korean, and would you choose to use banmal? If so, why or why not?
Yeah, I would really want to know the reason why the people did choose to say that. Maybe because they do feel like they're much younger. Oh, this high schooler. Well, to them, a very young person, and they have this familiarity. But I think it's often perceived as rudeness. I think so. Oh, you're looking down on me because I'm a service worker and you're Miss or Mrs. or Mr. whatever rich person yelling at me.
Yeah. And I can totally understand. I think when I was young, I also worked as a service worker in a bar and in a sailing club cafe. And sometimes older men particularly would address me as, all right, darling, hey, babes. They'd use these very sort of cute and informal terms to address me. And I didn't know them. And it made me feel very uncomfortable.
Yeah, and that gives an edge of sexism to it too.
Yes, there is. How about we focus on something that is quite easy and people really love about learning Korean? It's Hangul. Why is the Hangul alphabet so easy to learn?
Yes, so I've been at studying Korean for 6 years now, a little over 6 years actually. And although the author says 17 minutes, which I get what the author is talking about, but that's unrealistic. I think a more realistic thing is 3 days. But still, learning any sort of phonetic language or non-phonetic language writing style in 3 days is quite amazing. Hangul is easier, and it's easier because it's very simple. And the exceptions are very rare, and when they do happen, it's very easy to see them, and it's also easy to remember them, because there's not a lot. I spent maybe an hour for 3 days, an hour or two for 3 days. And the reason I say 3 days is because you want to retain it. If you do 17 minutes, you're going to read it and you're going to be like, oh, I got it. And then tomorrow you don't have it. So take 3 days to really do it. But it's just 3 days after a couple hours. And it was just reading and then writing, and it was done. Everything was there. Very easy. Super easy.
I have to agree. I found it a really satisfying process because you feel that real sense of achievement in a fairly short space of time. And when I compare the relationship between symbols and sounds in English, I now recognize how easy it could be if English letters and pronunciation was easier.
Yeah, because Korean follows one pronunciation route, and English has borrowed pronunciation from multiple different language groups, causing multiple different sounds to come out at multiple different times, even though it's spelled the same way. It's amazing, yeah.
It can get a bit crazy.
Now, I can answer this as well, but I assume you've tried a Hangul.
Yep.
But then maybe you haven't tried more than that. So
I have tried more than that, yes.
So in your opinion, what is the most difficult thing about learning Korean?
To me, it's definitely grammar. I've got as far as memorizing, I guess, certain stock phrases and words for things. I'm quite good at naming things in Korean, But trying to get that into a sentence that actually has meaning with the correct grammar, I really have not made much progress. I found it very difficult. I'm very locked into the word order. I found this with other languages I've tried to learn. The word order is different in Russian, and the same rules don't apply to Korean. But when I start to speak Russian, you know, it just comes out in English word order. I find it so hard to break that habit.
The politeness levels are not hard at all. I don't understand why people have a hard time with it. Like, quite simply, you either add an ending or you don't. For 90% of Korean you're going to be speaking. That's it. And then when you get into like the more honorifics area, like talking to much older people or trying to be very formal, polite, then you have different words that you do have to memorize and different structures that you have to memorize as well. And that can get a little bit harder. Honorifics are harder. But for 90% of the Korean that you're going to be speaking as a foreigner, it's going to be add this ending or don't. And that's it. But grammar.
Yes, because I haven't encountered register yet. Yeah. I've only been learning sort of basic formal. So I haven't even learned any Banmal yet.
Yeah. That's the thing, you don't have to learn it. You just have to remove what you did already. So it's all about removal rather than adding. And so it's much easier if you think of it that way. Anyways, yeah. But the grammar, exactly. Yeah. Grammar and the verb endings, which is a part of grammar, but especially that. It's like, oh, which verb ending do I use for this situation? Am I saying that I intend to do it, but it's surprising? Am I saying that I intend to do it, but I knew about it? Am I saying that I think that this might be difficult, but I'm not too sure? Am I saying I think it might be difficult, but I am sure? Like, it's like, what should I choose at this point?
I definitely enjoyed the honeymoon phase after learning my Hangul letters. That was very satisfying.
And then the brick wall right after of grammar.
Then I hit the wall.
It's like, well, this is so...
Let's jump into the vocabulary and maybe you can think about some English grammar and the things that you hate about learning English, some that are easy and some that are difficult.
Sure, there's a lot.
And we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Cognate.
Cognate.
Honeymoon phase.
Honeymoon phase.
Abrasive.
Abrasive.
Humiliating.
Humiliating.
Rub it in.
Rub it in.